Hello out there in the void! Back again, and finally getting around to following up on a sequel. So, back in October, I looked at House. And, off the top of my head, I can't quite remember the MacGuffin rating I gave it. I think I did a 3. The main point I had with this one is, this movie's weird. Very, very weird. Now, House 2, the second story, which tagline is, it's getting weirder. Well, now, when I was doing my purchasings, I picked up both House 1 and House 2 at the same time, from the same used place. One of my personal favorite haunts. Now, when I got home to inspect the discs, I was a little surprised because inside House, we have both House and House 2. This is not indicated anywhere on the packaging other than the fact that there's a little extra sticker saying 2 discs. So it seems like they just happened to put a second disc in this one and sell it off. Unbeknownst to me. However, I still kept the House 2 as Blu-ray, which would be what I prefer to it. So I ended up getting 2 copies on the same day. I mean, it's not the first time I've gotten 2 copies of a movie. In fact, I have 3 copies, I think, still, of The Fast and the Furious. It happens when you have as many films as I do that there's some overlap. But, anyway. On to House 2. Now, I said back when I first reviewed House that I had seen House 2 previously, back when I was a much younger man. And that's true. I will say, that amount of time can kind of have an odd kind of effect on your memories of a movie. You know what I'm talking about. You know. Anyway, from what I remembered, and probably what I said about it, was it involved an undead cowboy and pretty much 2 kids digging up their undead grandfather. Which is sort of true, except for in my memory, back when I was a middle school, if not, no, aged hippie or so, and I saw this one. See, I had in my memory that they were kids. No. These are full-grown men that are doing all this in this one. There's no kids in this movie at all. So, okay. Weird little memory trick. Anyway. So what does House 2 have to do with House 1? Nothing. Absolutely nothing other than style and tone. Now, House 2, it's an entirely different house. It's an entirely different cast. It's an entirely different level of shenanigans. So, this one's plot picks up with a young man named Jesse returning to his parents' estate 25 years after after their deaths, when he was just a little bitty boy. So he looks to he's trying to fix it up, take a look around, reconnect. Eventually, he happens upon some things indicating that his great-great-grandfather, a famous explorer/outlaw cowboy, was that had a crystal skull that supposedly had magic powers, but was different than the crystal skull that they turned to the museums. So, he believed that his grandfather might still have the skull around, and proceeds to look for it, getting the bright idea to, with his buddy, exhume his great-great-grandfather. Which they do, but Grandpappy is still kicking. After a misunderstanding, well, they get all on good terms, and Grandpa moves into the basement, despite being undead, and he just wants some beers, he just wants to hang out. But then comes the problem of trying to keep Gramps out of sight of his then girlfriend, as well as his friend's girlfriend and their record manager who's in town. They try to keep Gramps secret. However, as Gramps warns him, the forces of darkness are trying to steal his skull. Everybody after his skull, well, it's like the Lucky Charms. Everybody's always after his Lucky Charms. Except for his crystal skull, and he's not a leprechaun, he's a cowboy. Still with me? Because that's the level of thinking you have to be in to kind of follow this film. Because by forces of darkness, well, there's a Halloween party that happens, because of course, and one of the forces of darkness, in the form of a caveman, barbarian, comes now to steal the skull and takes it right back into the time void vortex, back to his time. So they have to run in and deal with a bunch of puppet and stop motion dinosaurs while trying to get it back from Caveman Barbarian. Did I mention this movie's weird? Because this movie's weird. So he ends up taking a pterodactyl back with him, as well as a strange little caterpillar with a dog face. Weird. Like you do. And right about the point where the undead cowboy was having the dog-faced caterpillar in his lap while he takes a baby bottle full of beer and is feeding it to him, then I realized that, yeah, this is definitely weirder than the first one. I will say, this for a horror comedy, it was funnier, I think, than House was. But House was a better at the horror elements, as well as being a bit more graphic. This one was R-rated. House 2, only PG. 13. PG-13. But I will say, part of this did have me laughing out loud. Particularly for the next instance, when the skull gets stolen again. It keeps happening. This time by someone appear to be like Aztec tribesmen. While they're trying to figure out where they got to, then an electrician shows up to try to help rewire the place because he had been called before. When they're just trying to get rid of him or keep him away from anything, he's just going, oh yeah, sure, I've seen all this before, you know. The wiring in here is not good, this is definitely going to have to be redone. Oh, yeah, seen that before. Yeah, most likely this is the case here. So he's going on those. He's playing the expert and begins doing it. Leave him alone for a second. He comes back out and is like, you might want to take a look at this. See, what we got here, he says, pointing to a hole he's now punched in the wall that seems to lead to an Aztec cave. What we seem to have here is, well, interdimensional gateway to an alternate reality. I've seen this before now, and you're not going to want to... you're going in. Okay, well, I'm warning you, this is... Okay. Turns around, grabs a sword, and just follows them in. And this is the electrician, and he's one of the more badass characters in it. He was then he's kind of the standout here. He's played by John Ratzenberger as... Okay, he got me laughing pretty good, as he's the one saving their butts from Aztec warriors. And then they bring the virgin sacrifice back that they happen to find there, like you do. And at this point, his girlfriend's already left him because she thinks he's cheating on her. And now his household is full of baby pterodactyl, an undead cowboy, the dog-faced caterpillar, and now an Aztec lady. Here we are. Not to mention an evil undead cowboy that was his grandfather's rival has appeared and is trying to get the skull. And the inevitable shootout begins, which causes the police to get involved. So this movie goes all directions, and it's entertaining. I actually don't know which I'd prefer. The effects, I think, and general horror elements work better in House. But this one was satisfyingly entertaining. It was funny. I was not bored by it. It has a strange little bit of heart. This one is I didn't mention before, is 1986. I think it's a year or two after the first one. But yeah, I actually think I do prefer House 2 slightly to the original House. The first House just was a bit... This one has a bit more focus. That one was rather more nonsensical with what was going on. It seemed more random. This one, yeah, it's random what time periods are opening to and why, but at least you have the skull as a, well, a guffin. That explains a little bit about why this is all happening in this one house. Also, the throw line like, this house is a temple, time doesn't exist here. I guess that meant literally. Anyway, this one's, it's not great. It's still a solid 3 MacGuffin, though, so if you like the first one, it's worth taking a look into. And even if you haven't seen the first one, it has no connection, so you can just watch House 2. House 2, the second story. Let's see what they did there. Ha. Ha 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 ha. The jokes in the movie are better. Anyway, this one, I do actually gotta recommend House 2. So, I know there were other houses, but I think they're like up to 4 or 5 that actually do double back to the characters from earlier, but I haven't actually seen any of those or bumped into any of them. Usually, for the House series, the first 2 are the only ones that were really notable, but if I happen to track down the other ones, I'll give them a review. Well, all for tonight. See you guys next time.